this is Dorothy here, and Done by Dorothy, and we're working on our For the Love of Australia book. We've already did 2 of our main pages, so we're going to work on our 3rd. And today we're going to do a little bit of a different, maybe take. We're actually going to do a fabric page. So I've got my handy dandy Fabri-Tac because I love my Fabri-Tac for my fabric. So we're going to get started. And I'm just going to put some glue down. I'm going to make sure I do a healthy dose because I don't want this to, you know, pop off or come loose later. Now, I am going to, let me put my lid back on here for a second. I am going to utilize one thing that may seem a little odd, but I know we all get those goofy credit cards in the mail that aren't really credit cards. They're just sort of like, oh, they're sort of credit cards, but they're not. So I'm going to use one of those, just sort of just spread this out so it's not as thick, because I don't want it to catch. And I'm just literally going to adhere my fabric down, making sure it's not, you know, tucked under and it's all straight. I can actually use the same card, and if I need to, you know, put a little bit of glue in a certain area, like right in here, I'm sort of short. I don't want to make sure when you wipe with your card you don't get rid of all of it, because if you know you do it too much it won't, but you don't want to put so much that it will come through either. I'm going to take this down here just a bit so it catches this corner. Make sure it adheres really well. Okay. So we've got our green. I actually have some really pretty gold fabric here, so I'm just gonna, I guess we'll just go in triangle since we already started there. So, I'm just gonna put some more glue down. And I could cover the whole page, but I don't want to do it everywhere and then it dry up on me. So I'm just doing, you know, section by section. Put my lid back on my Fabri-Tac in between because I don't want it to... And I'm not going to worry about going... so let's do this way. Let's just do it this way. And then I have some other colored fabrics over here. Let's use this bright green here. And again, I'm just randomly cutting this. I am going to cut this selvage off the end. And I'm not going to worry about, like, you know, if there's loose on top, because we can go back through and, you know, put more on there if we need to. Okay. Let's see. And I have this pretty green. Almost looks like little dragonflies on it. And I'm not even worrying, like, if I cut it really straight or anything, because I can go back through. You know, so I'm not worrying about that. I'm just really literally just slapping the fabric down. I'm going to go back through and I do try to make sure that the fabric's sort of laid down flat. And again, I just keep... So down here, maybe I'll use a little bit of my green cheesecloth. I'm going to put it down. Okay. Then choose a little bit more of this rose fabric. I'm just going to put it across the bottom. So I'm just going to cut off a piece. And these are scrap fabric that's just left over from old quilting projects and things like that. scraps that I've been given to use for crazy quilts and things like that. And again, I'm gonna trim this up just like we've been trimming all of our paper pages up. Okay, and then I will come back where my cheesecloth is. I'm going to put another small spot of it. You know what, maybe we'll use this brownish green up here in the top. And you'll see in a little bit, we'll come back over top the cheesecloth. So you won't have to worry about it just, you know, being able to see the base page underneath of it. I just thought this would be different, and I'm trying to do each of the pages differently. Let me put some more glue down. Okay. And again, I'm just randomly sort of cutting pieces and adding to it. Knowing I can go back, we'll go back and glue any of the pieces that aren't down. Like that, I can tell the tip is already sticking up. So I mean, if you catch that while you're doing it, you can and throw some glue on there. And okay, let's see, let's do some of this up here in the top corner. Let me cut that selvage off. And again, you could use the selvage if you want to. I'm not, just because I don't want that white on there. I'm trying to keep this all pretty much green. And some pages like this is going down really fast because I sort of want that raggedy, hobnobby, like you just threw it like together type look. Of course, you know, we've got several layers to do on this, so don't think we're just going to throw fabric down and call it good. Okay, oops. And you know, if you're, gotta clean my tip off for a minute, hold on. If you're looking for, you know, fabrics to use, you can use pieces of old clothes, all kinds of stuff. You know, there's really not a limit to what you use. And since I've been sort of doing this in the corners, I have that there and there, so I'm gonna go ahead and add it to here too. And I know this probably looks really crazy right now, and you guys are going, what in the world is she doing? I promise it'll work out. Sometimes you just have to trust yourself to create and not stress so much that, you know, it's not going to look completely correct. Because most of the time you stress and it turns out just fine. Although sometimes it doesn't, but most of the time. And, you know, there's always ways to fix it and recover and all that wonderful stuff. So I'm going to... Okay. And then let's see, what am I going to do down here? I need to put something... You know what? I want to put a little bit more gold up here. So I'm just going to cut off a triangle and just sort of put it over top of this right here. Just sort of break this up some. And a little bit here. I'm going to use a little bit of my cheesecloth again. Because, why? I'm a cheesecloth kind of girl. And we can trim this up after we get done. So I'm going to put some there. So I need to put something down here. Let's put just a little teeny tiny little triangle, maybe a little slither of gold across the bottom here, just enough to add and to cover that little hole. There we go. Okay. Put a little bit more down there for the cheesecloth. Okay. Try to slide this around so it'll cover my hole really good. So let me put my lid back on my glue for a minute. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over, and I always like to sort of just rub it, sort of put a little pressure to adhere. And okay, now I'm going to trim around the edges just like we've been doing with the paper. With the fabric, you have to be a little bit more careful with your cutting, because you will have pieces that'll straggle along that don't want to cut off. Just like anytime you're cutting fabric, it's just a little bit more of a process than when you're cutting paper. Especially when you have multiple layers, like right there. And we're just going to trim up around the edges. Okay, get all these tiny scraps over to the side. Let me get my hole punch and punch it out. At least it'll pop it up where I can cut it, although it may not completely take it off because it is fabric, but it at least lets me know where those holes are. And it'll pull them, see, it partially cut them so I can go in and trim that little edge out. Now you can, if you want that to be a little bit easier for cutting the holes, what you can do is before you glue your fabric down, run a strip of paper through there and then adhere your fabric to it. And now I just go back through and sort of double check if there's any edges sticking up, like right here where the edge is stuck up. Let me make sure you guys are still, yeah, you're still on camera. And then I just sort of, you know, glue that down. I don't worry about my, and some of it, I mean, like right in here is really, you technically wouldn't have to put anything there. You could leave that loose, and it just sort of gives you a little bit more of a 3D appearance. I have this new bottle of Fabri-Tac, and it's got a teeny tiny little lid, and I really liked my big lid that's screwed on better, but that is, it's working. Okay, so I need to come over here. And I'm going to look through my animals, sort of decide which one I want to use. I think I want to use a... Ooh, the bat would look really good. Let's use the bat. Just because I think it would look really good with all the greens. I have glue all over my hands, so these. And I'm just going to trim this out because, again, I'm going to... And again, I'm sort of going to go with what I've been doing as far as cutting the animals out and just sort of bubble fussy cutting, I guess. There's a new term for you I've never heard. We're going to bubble fussy cut. I'm just going to create the illusion that we're following around the picture, creating a bubbly type outline. So there you go. You heard it here first. We're going to bubble fussy cut. Okay, so let's pull out our ink and ink this gorgeous little bat up. And again, I'm using Tim Holtz Distress Ink and Vintage Photo. I love the aged look that gives everything. It does seem so much more like my lighting is a little bit better today. I don't know if it's just the time of day that it is, or what the deal is. It seems like it looks a little bit better, at least for me on my camera. Let's see on the video. A lot of times I do my videos early in the morning because it's quieter. Okay. Perfect. Let's put it back on here. Okay. Of course it's a bat, so it hangs upside down. So we literally could just glue our bat down right on top of there and it would look perfect. But I want to put a little bit of darkness, and I do have this green. So I think that the green of the doily will just bring that out. So I don't want to do a lot. So I'm gonna cut, and these doilies come from Dollar General, I believe. And I actually got these a little bit after Christmas time. And so when I got them extremely cheap. So now, you see where we put our cheesecloth? It's not going to matter that you can see that page under when I put the doily over it. And I'm going to put a little piece down here. Although maybe not, I don't know, that bat's a pretty big picture, so let's see how. Actually, let's put this. You know what? I think I'm going to cut those in half and put that one there. This one here. Maybe this down here. Just because I like the way that the dark green sort of adds that little bit of extra. Put this up here where it looks like it's coming out of both sides. Pull this down just a bit so it's, ooh, let's hang it off the bottom. Just a bit. And we can put the flying fox across the bottom. Nope, I want to raise this up a bit. Just because I like it a little centered, especially when it's that big. So we can still have just the tabs. I know I keep moving around. It's because you gotta find that perfect location where I want enough, but I don't want too much. Let's see. Let's move this right up here. Slide this up a bit. Move this up so it goes right along that corner. And this is almost like a greenish, it's a hunter green, but it almost has like a greenish blue look. So it really sort of brings out the blue. It pops the blue out in the picture, which you don't see other than that. And yep, I think that's where I want it. So let me glue. I'm just going to run some across here. I don't need it all stuck down, but I just need a part of it stuck down so it'll adhere permanently. And there'll be little glue strings. I'm not worried about that because I will put my bat over top of it. So I just try to cover sort of the big areas of the doily. Okay, and let's put some glue on our little bat here. And I am going to put, you know, a nice coat because with all the fabric and stuff underneath, it's really going to need to adhere, and fabric tack does, you know, when it dries, it's permanent and it bonds really well. That's why I like using it with a lot of fabric based items. Let's see. Yeah, I love how that green just pulls that blue out so much more. Okay, so there is our main page, and then I want to do with the gold, I sort of want to create the little faux type ribbon that we did on the other page. So I'm just roughly, I could have tore that, but I guess I should have. I used my pinking shears along the edges of this one. So I'm just going to use my pinking shears along the edge. And across the top and the bottom. Just sort of create like, that was where the selvage was, is why I took a little bit of extra piece off there. Hopefully you guys are, yeah, you're in camera. Sorry, I keep trying to check because I'm trying to make sure I stay more central when I'm doing things and not so out of the way. Okay, so I'm just going to start up here. I'm going to put a little, you guys remember how we did the ribbon the other day, so I'm just going to start, I'm going to put it where it hangs off a little bit. Then I'm going to turn around, and remember we just pushed it up and created the faux little areas, and then we can go back in with our other glue. Try to hold it down there. I was like grabbing something and sort of holding it because the glue will adhere to your fingers. We did this when we and it's just a little bit of that gold. And when we come through at the very end and we're adding charms and all that kind of stuff, I'll hang a charm off here. So it just gives you that little edge to hang a charm off of. Let me grab my journal binder here. I guess binder is what you would call it. I don't know. Let me put this back in. And then we'll do a little flip through just to See, and tomorrow we'll work on the back side of this. But I really wanted to do just a fabric-based page because, you know, that's something we don't do very often. And then tomorrow we'll do a painted background. So we'll use gesso. So there'll be a link tomorrow to the gesso recipe. Okay, so let's, of course we haven't did any, oops, I didn't lock that in. Of course we haven't did our covers yet because we're going to do those last after we get the fill. So I mean our journal's already starting to get a little poofy. So we've got, you know, the cheesecloth down here and some of the green ribbon, some gold ribbon. So we're already starting to grab, sort of create that. I have this thing where I pull the loose strings that are too long. Probably should cut them off. So we have, you know, that little poofy edge. So we had our plain colored rock wallaby with our gold leaf. Then we had our glitter and our Inca Gold texture paste and Inca Gold paint around it. A little bit of ribbon. And that was with the dingo. And then we have the flying fox or the fruit bat hanging from the tree with our all fabric page. So I mean every page, although we have the same animals, we're, you know, we have our paper collage, just a plain background with adding a little extra, and we got our big deep pocket here to stick lots of stuff. We have our bat here, so we will put a different type of pocket over here, or tuck over here tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But this is our flying fox and our fruit bat today, and our all fabric page, so it just created sort of a almost a crazy quilt. And now you could do this differently. I was going to, but I know a lot of people don't have sewing machines, or if they have them, you know, they're scared to use them. And I, you know, want to sort of do a journal just based on, you know, doing it on a sewing machine. But you could have adhered all of your fabric to a coffee dyed sheet of paper and then glued it on, but you could have went through and sewed it. And we may do a one by hand where all the sewing is done by hand, but I wanted to just sort of create this conglomerate of all of the fabric. And I love how it's, you know, it's gonna, over time, it's gonna unravel on the edges like that, and you're gonna get all that stringy goodness on the edge. I'll cut the really big ones off though, but I don't mind the small ones, so you're gonna get that ravel around the edge. It's gonna look really great. So that was page 3. Thanks if you're still on the journey with us, for being along. Tomorrow we'll be working on page 4. We're doing a bird tomorrow, so we will be doing, it's going to be pretty wild because we're going to do the Roselia tomorrow. And as you can tell, it is gorgeous. I mean, just the whole rainbow of colors and everything. It's going to be great to work on. So we will see you back here again tomorrow. Again, this is Dorothy with Done by Dorothy. Thanks for tuning in. I'm not going to go through the like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. You guys know that. So, you know, feel free to join in if you want to come back. And we will see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.